Hi, Colorado Springs. This is Jenny, and I'm with my co-host Leah today. How are you doing, Leah?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to go over this deal analysis on a
Yes.
property that you closed with your client a few weeks ago now.
Yes. I'm excited about this one too.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the client and what his goals were.
Sure. So this client is out of state. He is an experienced investor. He has a couple other properties here in Colorado Springs as well that he does the same model. And so he knew exactly what he was looking for. He wanted a house with a lot of square footage. He wanted a basement that had open space. He wanted ample parking. So we had a checklist of things. So it took us a while, actually, I would say a few months, to finally land this perfect property. So just took a lot of patience and, just on the hunt every morning, every day. So,
Yeah, I mean, just from the photos that you sent me of the home, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful and it works out numerically for the client. So it's kind of best of both worlds in that case.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Awesome. So we will title this Room by Room because he is a room by room landlord. How much did he put down on this property?
He put down 20%.
Okay. And we were talking a little bit before the show that he had a very low interest rate. So, what was that interest rate on this
Yeah.
one?
So it was 3.375.
Wow,
I know.
that's amazing on a investment property to have the low threes and figure it's a 30-year fixed
Yes.
note.
Yeah, I even questioned him. I was like, "Are you sure your lender knows that you're not going to occupy this?" He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah. That's so great. I mean, that will serve him very well into the future for
Yes,
sure.
for sure.
So what did he buy this property for?
So he was not willing to pay more than, he felt the property was worth.
Okay.
Even when I would tell him, this is going to be competitive, we're going to have to really go in, hard for this one. He was just like, no, like I'm willing to wait. And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay. So we actually offered 403 on this one.
Okay.
Um, so about 8 grand over the list price.
Okay. Was that kind of his cap that he felt, that was his hard stop on that one?
Yeah, his cap was 400.
Okay.
But when we saw the property, it was just so nice, and all the major components had been replaced.
Mhm.
So like new furnace, new water heater, new AC. Like all the flooring was nice and everything. So we knew he wasn't going to have a lot of upfront costs.
Yeah.
And so he was willing to go over a little bit.
Okay. What were his total acquisition costs for this one?
They were 6,000.
Okay. And then did he have any seller credits or initial repair costs?
No, so the only thing that came on inspection was the roof. So we were a little nervous about that, but the sellers were quick to just get it replaced. They had it replaced within 2 weeks.
That's
So
great. That's
yeah, it worked
great.
out really well.
Yeah, I'm sure, in situations like that, major components like roof, furnace, they figure probably any buyer is going to object to something like that. So it just makes sense in those cases to
Right.
for the
Yeah.
seller to take care of it. Great. So no initial repair costs on this one.
So I did figure in 5,000
Okay.
initial repair costs. And that was because he was converting a space in the basement into a fifth bedroom.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. And then just kind of rent ready type costs with
Right.
room
Mm-hmm.
by room that is you're going to have different setup costs. So, you're just going to have common area type things and probably locks on the bedrooms and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. So let's get into the rent. So I know that when we discussed with a different investor, Neil, who that is his specialty as well, the room by room rentals. It kind of got a lot of people excited about this technique. So this individual as well that's doing it. He's done it before, but I mean, it's just incredible what they are able to get for each room. So let's, spend a little bit of time on that.
Yes. So he is going to be renting each room for $650.
Okay.
And I know that, so this particular property is really cool as well because it has two separate garage doors. So two tenants can actually have their own garage door. So that's pretty cool. So, he may ask a little bit more for those two tenants.
Yeah.
I did not figure that into the spreadsheet though. I just kept it simple at $650.
Yeah. So that's just additional monthly revenue that he's going to be able to recognize once he kind of figures out the setup for that and
Yeah,
who wants
exactly.
to participate in that. That's great. So yeah, so we're at a total monthly rent of about $32.50. I don't know of too many 5-bedroom homes on a long-term lease in the Colorado Springs area that would rent for $32.50. So that is an incredible way to boost his bottom line for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, it's a sweet deal for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I really like it too because, rents are rising really quickly. And this is giving people an opportunity to live in a very nice home for $650 a month, which,
Yes.
I think that's great as well.
I know. I love it for both sides,
Mm-hmm. It's win-win.
We just do not have enough housing here, so when you can give 5 people a house at that rate, it's just super cool. I love it.
Yeah.
This is, I think, my favorite model for sure.
Yeah. I love hearing win-win stories for everybody involved. So
Yes.
it's fantastic.
And this house is really cool too because it's a tri-level. So, there's plenty of space for everyone. It just was really nice, like nice living areas, huge dining area. So to me, the feeling was it wasn't going to feel cramped or like they're on top of each other. There's a second living room area. So just plenty of space. I've started to really love the tri-level properties for rent by rooms.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't considered that where, if you have a 2-story, it's probably more limited and people might be on top of each other. So yeah, tri-levels typically do have that little basement rec room area
Mm-hmm.
on the lower level. And then, they have the regular family room in the middle level. So, typically speaking. So I think that's a really good point to make that
Yeah.
setup is really good for for tenant privacy and everything.
Yes. And he was very adamant that he wanted a property that had 3 or more bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
So there were times where I would send him like a 4-bed 2-bath, and he was like, "No, I want 3 bathrooms." I was like, "Okay, I got you."
Yep.
So that was something that he was, that was a deal breaker for him.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really good because we were able to get this property, and it actually has 3 full baths and then a half bath.
Okay.
So just plenty for the tenants. So
Yeah, that's wonderful.
yeah.
All right. So we'll plug in our normal vacancy factors. Just having spoken with Neil, he let us know that vacancy is no different by room than a traditional single lease unit. So we'll just go ahead and leave everything the same here for our factors. 3% for vacancy, 3% for annual rent increase, 5% appreciation rate. We'll go down here. Does he pay for property management?
So technically, no. He has someone local that does showings for him, basically like his assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. So she does, showings, or if there's an issue, or if, someone needs to access the property. That's what she's here for.
Okay. And do you know how much she costs on a yearly
Yep.
basis?
So she's about $1,200 a year.
Okay. That's pretty fair.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And then how much is he budgeting for reserves and maintenance?
So he is doing 5%.
Okay.
Just because, all the major things are new.
Okay.
So we felt pretty safe going at 5.
Okay. And then is this one in an HOA?
No HOA.
Okay. And then what are the property taxes for the year?
$1,249.
Okay. And then insurance?
$1,000.
Yeah, and that was another interesting point, that because these are long-term leases, it's a typical landlord insurance policy as opposed to, a short-term landlord policy. So
Yes.
yeah, so he's able to take advantage of the lower price. It's not quite as good as a homeowner's insurance policy, but somewhere in the middle there. So that's a really good rate, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And then he's paying for all utilities, correct? And
Yes.
Wi-Fi? Okay.
Including Wi-Fi. Yeah. So for trash, we wrote about $240.
Okay.
And then utilities for the year, $3,600. So that's electric, water, all that good stuff.
Okay.
And then Wi-Fi at $1,200 a year.
Okay. All right. Are there any other expenses that he has to take care of on a regular basis?
No,
Okay.
not that I know of.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Very cool numbers. All right.
Yes.
We'll start up at the top. So he has a total cash investment of $93,140, which includes his down payment, closing costs, and initial repair costs. So not a small chunk of change, but I think as we're about to go down and see the other numbers, it's a really good investment, and he will quickly earn that back.
Yes.
So if we go down to the net operating income, we're looking at $27,391 for the year. That's quite a bit. And then if we take out mortgage payments, which is about $17,000, this investor is left with annual cash flow of a little over $10,000 a year, which just always boggles my mind when we're talking about a property in Colorado that is grossing $10,000 a year. That's just incredible to me. There's a lot of time that goes into this. Time on the front end. He was very specific as to what he needed to make this work, and then obviously time on the back end in terms of now he has 5 leases that he has to manage. He's doing this from a distance. He has to manage his assistant and everything. So there's a lot that goes into that, but $10,000 a year is a really good chunk of change in somebody's pocket. So, not to mention now he owns a beautiful property that, is located in a highly appreciating area. So he's kind of getting the best of both worlds on this.
Yes.
I love that.
This one worked out so well. I'm so happy about it.
Yeah. So cash on cash return, 11%. So I know, a lot of people want that, magical 10% number. Typically our response is you're not going to find that here. I guess with the caveat of you can find that here if you are willing to do, a more unique model such as the room by room strategy. So I think that's really, really fascinating. And then a cap rate of 6.7%. Yeah, we don't see that too often. So that is incredible. And then just going down to the first year return on investment quadrant, if we're looking at, the 4 components to return: appreciation, cash flow, depreciation, debt pay down, he's at almost a 43% ROI on his initial cash investment of 93,000. So, I mean, he'll make that up in like 2.5 years.
Yes, exactly.
So that's wonderful. That's so exciting to see. This investor's potential for success on this property.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Leah, would you ever consider doing a room by room rental yourself?
I think maybe like years down the line.
When you have more time to
Yes,
manage it.
exactly. I asked him about, what do you do if you have tenants that are, bickering at each other, and he just seemed to just be like, I just don't put up with that.
Yeah.
And he was just really straightforward about it. And, if they aren't happy, if they're causing problems, then, they're welcome to go.
Yeah.
So he just really, that wasn't even a concern for him. So
that's great. I think you have
I'm
to
like,
be,
well, it's perfect for him then.
yeah. I mean, I really think you have to, have a certain personality for this. Like me, if I was, utilizing this potential strategy and, I'm getting calls about someone stole my slice of pizza from the fridge, like that would just really stress me out, even though it's, not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. It would just personally probably weigh heavily on me. Whereas some people, they are just wired where, hey, this is, don't bother me about this, that sort of thing. So I think you really have to kind of, take a good look at your own personality and your own management style as to whether this type of rental strategy would work for your personality for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And, kind of the amount of effort shows with the amount of reward that you get at the end. So,
yes, exactly.
yeah, there's always a trade-off. That's kind of how I see things.
Yep.
Yeah. So any other words on this property?
No, I'm just super excited for him on this one. We had a long journey to get to this one. But it just, I just love how everything works out in the end. Like we had some disappointments on a different property that we were under contract on that he really liked. And so when we found this one, it just made like the whole process worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, important for people to know that in this type of market, you're not always going to win your first offer, or, it can be a bit of a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And we just stuck with each other and just made it happen. So in the end, everything was just worth it with this one. So
that's so great. I'm really happy to hear that, both of you guys were really happy at the end with this one. And yeah, real estate is, a testing of patience in a lot of ways. And this is just one example of, a little bit of patience can pay off.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good one.
Great. Yeah. So if anyone out there is interested in learning more about the room by room strategy as a non-owner occupant, just send me an email, jenny@envisionrea.com, and we will get you set up and we'll help you find something to meet your goals. Thanks, everyone.